2026, the year Canadian immigration rules will decide who gets permanent residency and who's left out. If you're not preparing now, you could watch your chance disappear while others move ahead. In the next few minutes, I will show you what almost every applicant misses, the rules that are already shaping 2026, and how you can align your profile so your application feels inevitable, not impossible. I'm Jazz Dillon, licensed immigration consultant and founder of Real West Immigration. If you're serious about making Canada your home, hit the subscribe so you won't miss out what can make or break your case. Let's set the stage. Canadian immigration is a roller coaster. Thrill, drama, emotion, and yes, a few loops that can make your stomach drop. It's not just forms and checklists. It's timing, policy trends, category priorities, professional credibility, and whether your profile tells a story that officials can trust. My job isn't to teach you a complex legal system. My job is to help you avoid landmines, collaborate your path to where policy actually is headed, and escort you calmly, clearly through the fog. That's why you should subscribe. And if at any point you think I want expert eyes on my case, there's a link below to book a one-on-one consultation with me and my team at Real West Immigration. Keep it open in the tab. You'll know when it's time. Here's what almost nobody is talking about with enough urgency. Decisions made now echo in 2026. Think of the system as a river that's changing course. The current categories: healthcare, trades, education, agriculture, agri-food, STEM, and a French language proficiency aren't going away. They're sharpening. French continues to be a top priority, with targets trending upward over the next few years. And sitting on the horizon are potential new categories designed to fuel leadership, innovation. Senior managers running departments through middle managers, researchers, and scientists who push discovery, and specialized experience from allied military backgrounds. If you're hearing whispers of maybe, read it as plan for it. Strategy beats waiting. Now I want to be crystal clear about something. What you'll hear today is not a tutorial. I won't show you how to press buttons, fill forms, or game anything. That's reckless. Immigration is law. Law loves evidence, consistency, and credibility. Punishes shortcuts. In the past year, especially, enforcement has become much stricter. Questionable work histories, inconsistent stories across prior visas, inflated job titles that don't match the organizational chart. Officials are just not reading, they're verifying. Some provinces have withdrawn nominations after site inspections. People with questionable French scores have been invited to interviews and then handed. If your plan relies on, maybe they won't check. It's not a plan, it's a risk you can't afford. Let me tell you a quick story. A client called Morella had strong skills, average scores, and a profile that put her in the almost category. She's been refreshing her pool status for months, losing sleep. In our consultation, we didn't add chaos, we added clarity. We mapped up her experience to priority categories, aligned her title with actual responsibilities, addressed inconsistencies between past visitor visa and current work history, and inserted a clean narrative that made sense to an officer and matched the evidence one for one. We also positioned her for how the winds are blowing in 2026. Leadership responsibilities documented properly. A French plan that matched her timeline, not a fantasy. Result? She moved from refresh to an invitation. And more. Peace of mind. Not because of luck, because of alignment. Here's the retention point. Alignment is everything. Your experience has to align with the category signals Canada is amplifying. Your proof has to align with your claims, letters, payroll reality, reporting structure, the size and scope of your organization when you're calling yourself a senior manager. Your past applications have to align with your present. If, for example, you omitted legitimate work from a study permit because someone told you it looked cleaner, you now have a credibility gap. You need a strategy to to disclose, explain, and rehabilitate trust. That's the kind of nuanced work we do in a consultation. And that nuance is often the difference between a straightforward approval and a 5-year ban for misrepresentation. Okay, let's zoom out. You're not competing against a handful of people. You're in a marathon with millions. Temporary residents, students, workers, families already here in Canada. And even with fewer new arrivals in some streams this year, the pool stays competitive because smart applicants are adapting. They're not low 500s. They're strengthening their profiles in a credible, lawful way, gaining legitimate experience in priority occupations, pursuing verified language gains, especially French, closing narrative gaps, and preparing evidence for the enforcement era. If someone told you to sit still and hope the scores drop, they didn't read the room. Canada is prioritizing what fuels the economy long term. Your profile should say, I'm exactly that. If you're nodding because this resonates, subscribe. It's free. It keeps you a step ahead. And if you're already in the know and you need a tailored plan because your case has moving parts, refusals, or simply you want a specialist to steer, book a consultation with me now at Real West Immigration. The calendar is filling up and your timeline matters. Let's talk about 2026. Expectations without speculation hype. Persistent shortages are not a headline. They're a through line. Healthcare workers who keep systems running, skilled trades that build, repair, and expand the country. Educators who increase capacity. Agricultural roles that protect food supply. STEM professionals in engineering and cybersecurity who safeguard infrastructure and enable growth. And French proficiency, especially outside Quebec, that supports demographic balance and service delivery. The language here matters. Persistent. That means these categories aren't just a trend, they're a mandate. If your profile already intersects one, your task is to prove it clearly. If it doesn't, but could with honest, achievable steps, your task is to plan now. The worst plan is the one that waits for a miracle draw. The best plan anticipates where the ball is going and how to land a goal. Now, a word on titles. I know what happens when senior managers are mentioned, everyone suddenly becomes a VP on LinkedIn. Please don't do this to yourself. Officers check, quota-backed decisions where the true scale of responsibility didn't match the title. Not enough headcount under the role. No middle managers reporting in. No department budget control. No objective signals of seniority. If you genuinely run a function through managers, if your organization chart and letters prove it, fantastic. Lean in. If you don't, forcing a title creates a crack in your credibility that officers can drive a truck through. It's better to be precisely who you are and position that role into the categories that actually fit than to overreach and fall. And because someone will ask, what about working from abroad for experience? The only thing that matters in this truth is whether the evidence supports it. Real employer, real pay, real duties, real timeline, and real location. If you're living in Canada and claiming foreign work experience from somewhere else, be prepared to explain tax, time zone, workflow, and how your story fits reality. This is not a loophole to abuse. It's a scenario to handle with care. In consultations, we pressure test the story against what an officer will see. And we either greenlight it with documentation, pivot before it becomes a liability. Here's another story that illustrates the state. A couple, let's call them Maya and Rakesh, applied with simple profiles. Except their past study permit application omitted Rakesh's genuine 2-year role because an agent said it would complicate things. Now, 2 years later, that same role would boost their points. Temptation was to quietly it. We didn't. We confronted it. We disclosed the omission, explained why it happened, provided every piece of third-party evidence, and framed it within the law's preference over concealment. We turned a potential ban into approval, not because we're magicians, but we respect the system. If your case has a ghost in the file, don't bury it. Retention checkpoint. You don't need to be the perfect candidate. You need to be consistent, credible, and aligned with priorities. If you're still with me, you are exactly the kind of applicant who takes this seriously and the kind of client we love to help. Let's address psychology. The reason this process feels overwhelming isn't just forms, it's uncertainty. It's seeing the headlines about consultations, redacted notes, or evolving categories and wondering what applies to you. It's refreshing pool data and watching scores dance. It's a well-meaning friend saying, my cousin did X, and now you're spiraling. Professional guidance turns noise into signal. We triage what matters, what doesn't, what's risky, what's powerful. We build a narrative officers can follow in minutes. We put a spotlight on your category relevant value. We preempt credible questions. We organize your file like it's going to audit tomorrow, because sometimes it does. And we talk about your future, not just your file. What do you want to do after 2 years of landing? Which province fits your field? What support do you need as you transition? Because if you build your plan only around how do I get an invitation, you'll miss the bigger win. How to thrive once you're here. High ticket doesn't mean high pressure. It means high touch point, high precision, and high integrity. That's the standard you should expect. Micro reminder, if this level of clarity helps, subscribe now. The people who act on good information early are the ones who send us, we did it, emails later. And if you want this level of thinking applied to your specific case, the consultation link is in the description. I'd rather meet you before a mistake than after one. As we round this out, let's talk about urgency. Policy windows open and close. Quotas reset and exhaust. Category mixes shift across the year. If your personal timeline, work permits expiring, studies ending, life events doesn't pause, the cost of waiting is rarely zero. It's often momentum. The most expensive mistake I see is not from the wrong form, it's the right action taken too late. If you already know French will be a lever for you, your future self will thank you for starting now. If your role generally maps to leadership, gather the evidence now. If you have past inconsistencies, resolve it now. That's how future approvals are made in the present. Okay, one final story. I got a message from a viewer, let's call her Zoe, who said, I watched a few of your videos and finally booked a consultation. I wish I'd done it earlier. We discovered a strength that had been hiding in plain sight, a sector-specific credential tied directly to a persistent shortage category. We repositioned her experience, tightened her employer letters, and approached her file as if an audit was automatic. When her approval came, it felt inevitable. But only because we made it so. That's a feeling I want for you. Inevitable because you aligned early and executed cleanly. If you've watched this far, you are serious, and I respect that. Here's what I want you to do next, and do it now while this is fresh. Subscribe to the channel so you stay ahead of every category signal and enforcement trend. It costs you nothing and saves you from costly mistakes. Then book your private consultation using the link below. Meet with me, Jazz Dillon, and my team at Real West Immigration. Bring your goals, your documents, and your timeline. We'll turn them into a precise ethical strategy that moves you forward. I'm Jazz Dillon, once again, founder of Real West Immigration. Grateful for your time and committed to your success. Your Canadian chapter doesn't start when you land, it starts the moment you decide to move with intention. Hit subscribe, click the consultation link below, and let's write the approval story you'll be proud to tell.